You're a third year internal medicine or family medicine resident, you're about to graduate and you're looking for hospitalist jobs. But since you've been in school or training for most of your life and you've never had a job, you're kind of confused as to what to do and how to find the perfect match for you. Well, in this video, I'm going to discuss the steps you can follow in order for you to find the best match for you. Right? So if you haven't seen my last video, I'll post a link up here somewhere. In that video, I discussed my personal experience for how I found the hospitalist job for me, the best match for me, at least as for my first hospitalist job, right? Definitely watch that video as it'll give you a quick overview of like how I went and found a job, and it'll give you kind of like how you can do the same. So make sure you like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to find out the steps you need to follow to find the best hospitalist job match for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you 8 to 9 questions. These are like the bare minimums, the skeleton of kind of like, of how to find the best match for you. And you should be able to answer those 8 or 9 questions for yourself before you start your job hunt, right? So question number 1, location. Where do you want to work? Do you want to work in New York City? Do you want to work in upstate New York? Have like 4 or 5 different areas, right? Especially if you're shooting for a metropolitan area like New York City, which is like very competitive because it's highly saturated. Have 2 or 3 different regions that you would like to work in. So let's say number 1 is New York City. If you don't find anything in New York City, you want something in Long Island. If you don't find something in Long Island, you want something upstate. If you don't find something upstate, then you want something in Connecticut or Pennsylvania, and so on, right? So have like a general area that you're looking for and kind of rank them, right? Number 2 is type of practice. So type of practice is what were you looking for, inpatient versus outpatient? Are you looking for traditional medicine? Are you looking for an inpatient job that's with a private group? Or you're looking for an inpatient job that's with a hospitalist group or an academic hospitalist job, right? And the choice you make will depend on what your goals are, right? So if you didn't match into a fellowship and your goal is to match into a fellowship, you're more likely to benefit more from being an academic hospitalist than the other ones. If your priority and goal is to kind of make money, then it could be, a hospitalist, inpatient, or with a private group. The thing with a private group is that they usually don't offer PSLF, public service loan forgiveness. So if you're looking for public service loan forgiveness, you can go for a hospitalist group or nonprofit organization. Private group usually wouldn't work in that case, right? So those are the first 2, location and the type of practice, right? The third one is going to be the compensation model. Compensation model means how do you get paid? So do you have just a set salary, which tends to be the case in like highly densely populated like metropolitan hospitals, where they just give you one salary. There are no bonuses, there's no RVUs, there's no quality incentives. It's just, no matter what you do, how many patients you see, how much you work, you get that one salary, right? And another compensation model is RVUs, right? RVUs are a way to quantify how much work you're doing. So a hospital might give you a set salary, and then they might give you RVU incentive. That means that if you work more, so they have like RVU thresholds. For example, the threshold is 4,500 RVUs. So once you start working more and you're making more RVUs beyond the 4,500, they start paying you for each RVU. And the per RVU pay is also different among hospitals. Some might give you like 15, 20, $2. They like the average it is available online. You can find like the average compensation per RVU in the eastern region or western region and so on. However, each hospital network tends to pay based on its own, system. And another model is quality incentives. So quality incentives are basically they give you like certain quality metrics you have to meet. For example, how early are your discharges? How fast do you put orders in after you get an admission? What's the length of stay for a hospital? So those are like some quality metrics. As long as you meet them, you get the quality bonus. Now, some hospitals offer only RVUs, right? They give you a set salary plus RVUs. Some offer only set salary plus bonus, quality bonus. And then there's some hospitals that offer RVUs plus quality bonus with your basic salary, right? So you have to kind of know where to go, and you kind of have to calculate your potential for making money with RVUs versus quality. All right. I chose quality for my job because I made this Excel calculator, and I tried to figure out my potential for making compensation with RVUs, and it turned out the job that I signed for gave me more money with quality incentives than I would make with RVUs. So I did my calculations. I figured out, like, which one works best for me, and maybe I can make a video on RVUs versus quality incentives in the future. Just try to do some research on what RVUs are and RVUs versus quality, because that is an important question that you should answer before you start looking for jobs. Next one is the hours. What are the hours going to be like for you? So if you are a daytime hospitalist, right, and if you're just rounding, are you going to be there from 7 to 7, or can you leave when you're done? So let's say you have like 15 patient census and you're done at 1 p.m. Can you leave at 1 p.m., or do you have to stay until your shift ends at 7? So some places allow you to leave when you're done and work from home. Some places say that you have to stay there the whole time. So that's very specific to different hospitals, and that's a question you should ask. Like, what do you want? I think most of the time people would prefer to leave when their work is done. So, that's an important question to keep in your mind when speaking to recruiters and speaking to the hospital, right? Next is closed versus open ICU. So, are you comfortable with working in the ICU, taking care of intubated patients and doing procedures? Or do you want no procedures and you want closed ICU? So that's also a very important consideration, and should be one of the first few questions you answer before you start applying for hospitalist jobs, right? Next is rounding versus admitting. Do you want to be a hospitalist who only rounds, or who only admits, or do you want to do both? So some hospitals are set up in a way where you will be rounding and accepting admissions throughout the day. Some hospitals are set in a way that you're just rounding when you're rounding, or you're just admitting when you're admitting, right? So you can choose to be on the rounding team or the admitting team. Or, you could be a nocturnist, and usually nocturnists, they do admissions and just cover acuity overnight on the floors, right? And that's why I liked being, I signed up for a nocturnist. There's no social work. There's none of that involved that night. You're just admitting patients, which I like, and you're taking care of acuity on the floor, all right? You're not dealing with anything chronic on the floor. Next, is mid-level support. Do you want to have residents or PAs or RNs as mid-level support? The only The only downside I can think of with mid-level support is that you are co-signing their notes and you are responsible for the work they do and the decisions they make. So as a new hospitalist, that might be a little tough because you might be taking on too much of a liability, because you still need some experience in order to be comfortable being a hospitalist and being comfortable by yourself. Just coming out of residency, I think we all have that fear of, we don't have oversight anymore, and you're kind of responsible, more responsible now. So I think it's better to not have that much of a mid-level support in the beginning of your hospitalist career, just so you get comfortable. Okay, and next is the EMR. EMR, there's Cerner, Epic, Allscripts, and there might be more that I'm unaware of. It's not that important of a point for me, but for some people it might be. Some people might really like Epic and only want to go to places that offer Epic. I feel like you can get comfortable with any EMR if you like practice for like 2-3 months or so. So that is a consideration if you want to make it one. So after you answer all of those questions for yourself, so let me just review them for you. Location, type of practice, compensation model, hours, ICU and procedures, like closed ICU, open ICU, procedures or no procedures, and then rounding versus admitting shifts, and mid-level support and EMR. So answer those questions for yourself, and then sign up for online job recruiting websites like .cafe, Practice Link, Practice Match. Those three are the highly regarded ones, and the ones I use. There might be other ones you can find by searching. You can use others if you want, but those are the ones I recommend. So once you make your profile, upload your resume, you'll start getting calls from recruiters. So the first thing you should do, is to speak with as many recruiters as possible. So I made it a rule for myself to speak to like 2 to 3 recruiters a day, because each recruiter can potentially give you 1 or 2 job offers. And then uh, screen the recruiters as well, because some recruiters are just really bad at what they do and some recruiters are really good, and you get the feel for that once you speak to them. For example, I spoke to some recruiters and they had no clue what they were talking about. They could not provide me with any useful information. So just skip those ones, right? And there were some recruiters that sounded discriminatory, that sounded really mean, and they gave you a negative impression. So just skip those. There are enough recruiters out there. There's so many recruiters, and all of them, they get paid like $25,000 for bringing you in to a hospital if you sign. So they make a lot of money. So make sure you find good recruiters, recruiters that sound competent in their job and they know what they're talking about, right? Not just like some clueless person, and I've had those. So that's why I'm trying to make you aware. So once you find a competitive recruiter and you get like 1 or 2 jobs, right? You ask them those questions as well. Hey, where is it located? What type of practice is it? Is it open ICU versus closed ICU? What are the hours like? You ask them all of those questions, and if everything matches, then move on to the third step, which is going to be the hospital interview, right? So the first step is answering those questions for yourself and then speaking to recruiters. And once you convert, like you have a match, you move on to the second step, speaking to someone from the hospital to set up an interview. And if you pass the first 2 steps and you're moving on to the hospitalist interview, that's when you can kind of get a picture of like the hospital culture or any other like details that you might want to know, right? But as long as you have a match with those big 8 criteria, then you are more likely to find a better match for you. So those are the kind of the big points that you should look for. One other thing that I forgot to mention was public service loan forgiveness, right? So that should be another point that you bring up with the recruiter or your first call with someone from the hospital. Do they offer PSLF? And that's if you have student loans. If you don't have student loans, then you forget about it. I have student loans, so it was important for me to find someplace that offered public service loan forgiveness. So, those are the steps. And if you have any questions about the process that I just explained, feel free to leave a comment in the section below. And make sure you like and subscribe to the video. And my next video will be about hospitalist interviews, what to expect, what type of questions to expect, and what type of questions to ask them. Right, so make sure you stay on the lookout for that, and ring the bell icon so you stay informed on my new videos. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.